Okay, so first lesson on working in the creative media industries. The first thing we need to do is look at job roles and recruitment. Okay, so for learning aim A, you have to demonstrate a good understanding of the media industries. And the first step in that really is understanding what job roles there are out there and kind of recruitment processes. It's not really that much different from anything you'd expect, but we'll have a little kind of look through it anyway. A key thing to note here, the media organisations essentially operate under the same conditions as any other commercial business. And, taking that into account, there's quite a lot of common crossover jobs between media and commercial business, because most media organisations are a commercial business and they're therefore structured in very similar ways. So in a media organisation, we're looking at an admin team that's often made up of people that are managing logistics, who needs to be where when, what equipment needs to be where when. That's, basic administration, but that is the foundation to every organisation, and that includes media. Okay, so logistics, managing locations, managing staff, doesn't matter what organisation you're in, there's going to be a team, an area, department that's going to need to look after that. Okay, so going around the kind of framework that we've got in front of us here, we've then got a financial team. Again, this isn't any rocket science really, but somebody has to manage that, the budgets, the accounts, where they're going to get money from to pay for stuff. Okay, managing the finance of big projects and all of that kind of stuff. Now, this is something that when we get into the legal area, there are a lot of specifics in media, but however you look at it, compliance, risk, copyright, permissions, somebody is going to have to manage those processes. You can work in compliance in any sector at all, and there's probably, some transferable skills there that will come over to media. Just a general understanding of the fact that there are for example, copyright processes and procedures you have to follow, and there's laws that you have to follow in relation to that. Marketing, one of the biggest areas of crossover in industry. Okay, certainly if you're working in media, you're really starting to step into a marketing specialist role, because you understand design, you understand audience, in sometimes to a very complex degree. You understand the importance of research before you design a product. So in a way, marketing is a huge area for media graduates, such as yourselves. But the media organisation that you work for, whether that be the BBC or any other organisation, they have a marketing department within themselves. They have to capture data about who they're trying to pitch their products to, how are they going to reach those people. Okay, and then from a technical point of view, certainly in media, set designers, riggers, and operators, they're the people that really are the backbone to a lot of media organisations. So when we look at this whole picture, there's a huge amount of media job roles here that cross over from other areas of business, and if you go down any of these routes, you can also go into different directions as well. Okay, so any one of these roles can form a platform for the start of a career in media, and it's often the case, certainly in traditional media and broadcast, that just getting a foot in the door by any means leads to those further career opportunities. So if you're running around on a set helping people out, you're moving in the right circles, you're liaising with the right people, you're seeing how this organisation operates on the shop floor, and that is a massive, massive step for developing your career in media. Okay, we move on to, where do we fit into this picture? Because it seems like a big world out there, when you're at college, at sixth form, and you think, God, some of these organisations are huge. Where do I fit into this? two types of organisation that the exam boards identify. In reality, it's not, as clear cut as A or B here. Different organisations tend to have departments that are vertically integrated within a horizontal organisation. So it's a little bit of a mixture of both. But however you look at it, it's very good to have an understanding of these two different organisational structures. Okay. So a vertically structured organisation often has really clearly defined roles, and the overall key performance indicator for that organisation, the performance indicator, how are we doing as an organisation, is all about efficiency. Okay, if we're operating as efficiently as possible, then we're performing to our best. This is a typical example of a vertical structured organisation, if efficiency is at the heart of what they do. The thing, some of the cons to this is it can be difficult to climb the ladder because you've got people that are kind of stuck in a vertical role, and you tend to go up or down the ladder. And if the person above you is not going anywhere, then it's very difficult to get past them because you're climbing vertically through this organisation. Okay, so the real kind of negative to that is that it can be very detrimental to staff morale and your job satisfaction. If you go to work and the person above you is telling you what to do, and then you come home and then you go to work, and that continues for what feels like sometimes a never-ending period of time, it can be difficult to find motivation in an organisation like that. If we look at the horizontal structured organisation, they're often more flexible when it comes to recruiting staff, because you're not necessarily climbing the ladder up and down. You can move across from left to right, and therefore individual skill sets can be catered for. And if you're a real standout person, a real individual that has a really unique skill set, often organisations will say, yep, we're interested in you. We'll find a place to fit you in within a team. The downside to that is that it's not often clear where your career can take you. The career pathway is not that clear. Sometimes you're like in this organisation and you're doing really great stuff, and you're like, I'm not really sure what the next step for me is. And in my experience, looking back, you really just have to be patient and wait to see what comes up. But in reality, that's very difficult to do sometimes. You want to know what your next steps are, and often in a horizontal organisation, it's not that clear. Even if those next steps are amazing, it's not very clear to see where they're going to come from. And, naturally, instinctively as employees, we want to know, where am I in the progression of my career? Where am I going? What direction can I go in? So that kind of unknown grey area can seem a bit scary. But it tends to be quite good for staff morale, because you get teams that are all operating on the same level. And that is good, because you don't have someone that's telling you what to do necessarily. You collectively operate as a team. And if you've got a really good collection of people operating as a team, then you can do really amazing stuff. But it's really reliant on the recruitment being right, and everybody buying into the fact that this is a team effort and we're all on the same level and we all work together to produce great things. Unfortunately, sometimes all it can take is one person that's really not on board with that kind of disrupts that team flow. So you can look at organisations and say, generally, I think they are more vertically structured or more horizontally structured. But it's important to realise that this is a spectrum, okay? An organisation does not really have to be one or the other. There's a spectrum here, and you can sort of pick and choose, because within certain departments you may have a vertical setup, but those departments may be aligned very horizontally across the organisation. So it's worth, looking at the company you work for if you work part-time, or speaking to people that do work full-time and saying, how is your organization structured? Do you have a manager? Do you have a team leader? Do you manage people? Get an idea of that, and sometimes draw a picture like this one here on the screen. That can often help to really understand how organizations are structured. It's important to know this stuff because it allows you to sort of design a career path, that you can try and aim for. The key there is you're aiming for that. You absolutely have to be prepared to take whatever opportunities come around the corner and be prepared to accept that things won't go to plan sometimes, but that's okay. We're all just kind of working our way through life and seeing where we end up. So the first thing I want you to do, you understand a bit about how organizations are structured. You've got to do a bit of brief research to fill in the first section of your assignment. This is for Learning Aim A, and job roles, which is Learning Aim A1. So choose 2 organizations in different media sectors, identify an entry-level job role within each of them, describe what skills are required for this job role and the sort of individual that would suit this job. For example, if you've had a job vacancy for an on-air technical operator at Global, a tech op, what is the spec on that job? Okay, what are the requirements? Look for some job vacancies. That's going to help you to identify what skill set is required. BBC Careers website, Global Careers, they're good starting points. Second to that, identify 2 further progression opportunities for somebody working in these entry-level job roles. Okay, so where do you think they could go to next? And describe what skills would need to be developed in that initial job role for an individual to progress through this pathway. So it's about understanding, where you start and where you could progress on to next. Okay, it's unlikely that you're going to fit this all onto the slide that's in your assignment template. So you're probably going to need to add some slides into your template to be able to complete this task. But this is just A1, okay? Find Learning Aim A1 in your template, get this key information on this slide in front of me, up there, and you should be good to go.